Yeah, mate, we got hards on. We're going to the end.
It's hard on. Where we got the hard on? Cause we're going to the end. Viva Las Vegas, baby. You know, I don't really resonate much with Las Vegas, but I've seen The Hangover and I'm feeling pretty hungover. Not because of any particular libations, um, or because I lost my tooth, whatever happens in that movie, or Mike Tyson, or tigers, or babies, oh my. But because I watched the Grand Prix at 6 in the morning, and I'm not used to that. I know you've heard of white privilege. This is European privilege. I get it. We're spoiled. This is our turn to feel the struggle. But I didn't even bother sleeping. I just stayed up. I haven't slept since. It's 3 in the afternoon and my eyes hurt. And to be honest, was it worth it? We'll get into that. We've still got we've got to rate my quality. Then we'll do the race rundown, as you know, and then it's the soft, medium, and hard awards, which might shock you. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they're quite predictable. Quali. It was Leclerc on pole, which doesn't really mean much. This is now the 12th time he's not won from pole. And, I really thought that he would win. I kind of thought it was like dead certain. Set in stone, even. He would, well, not set in stone, that's a bit far. But, I thought it was like quite sure he was going to win that. And I think there is a world in which he does. I think he done almost everything right. I mean, he does lock up and go off track, but he makes up for that at the end. It was kind of just, again, it was more like sly bad luck. Usually it's so in your face, it's so obvious. It's we're gonna literally cut your car off in a formation lap. This time it was like two safety cars that didn't help him. Both times helping PEREZ, bringing him into a fight he had no right being in, which just pissed me off because everyone's like, "Oh, PEREZ, wow, look how well he's done to get up here," and it's like, yeah, he was blasting through the back, with a rocket. This isn't any innuendo, please, but he was blasting through the back, um, and he got some safety cars to help him, and he found himself in P3, and I was just kind of like, why am I even fighting you? This is like, you shouldn't even be on the radar. It should just be me versus Verstappen right now. And like, yeah, but I'll get into it. Sainz was technically P2, right? But he got relegated all the way down. He had Russell P3. Gasly's, that's a bit of a surprise up there. Albon P5, Sargent P6, Bottas P7, Magnussen P8, Alonso P9, Hamilton P10. But obviously they came up pretty much all of them came up one position because of Sainz, which is like fine for the most part. I'd probably give the quali a 7 out of 10 because Verstappen's not on pole, to be fair. So you get points for that quali. Not because I don't like Verstappen, but just because it's a little bit more fun, a little bit more interesting. But again, when he wins, he wins. When he doesn't win, he wins. Because it's like, he's not starting on pole, but he's getting the next best thing. He gets promoted to the front row anyway. And he's got, that inside line. And I just sat there watching that and the lights go out. And I'm hoping for something, I'm hoping for rain in the desert. It's just very unlikely that it's going to come because, he gets a good start. He's on the inside. And then what can you really do? If Verstappen gets a decent start and not decent, or whatever start, if he's on the inside, he's sending it and you're not getting through. So, Leclerc goes wide, but we'll get into that into the race, So for me, I kind of felt like this quali kind of set up for a boring start to the race or like maybe a predictable start because it sets up with Verstappen P2, but he's on the inside and know what's going to happen there. And it kind of shows if you look at the final order of the top 10 compared to the quali top 10, most of the cars in the top 10 at the end of the race weren't in the top 10 in quali. So it kind of just, it was like, oh, fake excitement with Gasly being here, Albon, Sargent, Bottas, or whatever these random, like, just get out of the way, really. Because it was always going to end with, like, Hamilton getting back up here and, Piastri and, like, the people who actually meant to qualify up here getting back here. So sometimes it's all fun and games and people get excited when, like, a shit car is like, oh my god, I can't believe Magnussen qualified P4 or whatever when these random things happen. But to me, it's just like, unless they've actually got the pace to sustain it, if it's just like a fluke thing, then really they're just out of position and they're kind of just more or less back markers, but starting at the front for the cars who are inevitably going to get past them. Like, it doesn't really do much for me like it does for other people. But hey ho, I'll give it a 7. I could easily give it a 6 maybe, but I'm trying to be kinder to Vegas than a lot of other people. Although while watching the race, I was kind of watching it like, okay, there's a few corners here, like with that big sphere thing, and like, the straight, I guess. But even like the straight, which is down the strip or whatever, it's like it's not particularly cool looking. Like I get it if you've seen it in movies and stuff, and if if you're like all my big gambling addicts out there, that must have been great for you just watching that, just getting that itch, going whoa. But realistically, for someone like who doesn't like put Vegas on, like doesn't rate Vegas that highly in terms of just like, oh, I want to go Vegas, like. Sure, you're down the strip and you see these big buildings and shit, but like they're just big. They look like big banks and shit. They're just big grey buildings. I guess beige buildings, and then you pass them and stuff. Like it's not, for me, like what tickles my fancy. Well, I know it's like a pipe dream is basically impossible. A New York, Manhattan, or at least view of Manhattan, Brooklyn. I don't care. Just a New York race for me would be like. That just like shits all over Vegas, in my opinion. Like the only reason the drivers probably gassed for Vegas was the afterwards. The what you're doing beforehand. How you're either celebrating or drowning your sorrows at some slot machines. So yeah, people wanted to hate Vegas, so I never wanted to hate it. I wanted to enjoy it. I thought it'd be carnage, and that's why I was kind of rooting for it. Turns out it wasn't really carnage. Like a drain pipe came off in FP1 and like things couldn't start. So there was like bad things happening behind the scene. When I was thinking carnage, I just meant more in the race. I thought a lot of like DNFs, a lot of like, people just unsure. And it was kind of slippery and that was a non-factor. But I think for the most part, it was actually just a solid race. Like it was just a race you'd see at any other place. Like they were comparing it to other street circuits, but at least on this track it felt like overtaking was pretty possible and could happen pretty regularly. Like it felt like overtakes were happening better and on this track and more regularly and in more different places than on like a track like Catalonia, which you have to sit through all the time. So I actually thought the track, and I feel like it has potential in future years to like throw up some really fun races. But yeah, this race, maybe just because the drivers who profited or did well or whatever from this race, I don't usually back. Maybe that's the reason I didn't find it crazily exciting. But, there was some people really wanted to hate. I don't get people who do this, right? You're not being paid to do this. You're just like a guy who doesn't want Vegas to do well. And you're like taking videos behind bushes, like being a snitch, basically. Like, I'm currently recording them taking care of the manholes, whatever, and they're not actually using this method. They're actually using this method to fill it in. Just sort of looking eye emoji like Vegas. It's just like, what are you getting out of just like sneaking around the back to take videos of Vegas because you want to see it fail so bad? It's just like, you've paid to be here. Why don't you just want it to do well? You've actually paid thousands of pounds probably to be here. Why, I get it. Like if you've actively missed a session and you're pissed, I guess. But like these accounts just feel like rich wannabe journos, just like going around trying to make some narrative, and it's just like it's the first race in like a place where you wouldn't typically have a race. Like it's going to be a little bit difficult. There's teething problems. It's the first one. Like, okay, the manhole flew off. As much as Toto downplaying it, being like, it's just a manhole. Who gives a fuck about FP1? No one watches that shit. No Europeans are watching FP1 at 4 a.m. It's like, okay, mate. You're kind of meant to, whatever. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, as long as you improve from it, then, there's something to learn from, innit? It's the first one. But the way Toto was going about it was a bit strong. I mean, because the idea that, like, no one's watching this live in the morning, how is this an embarrassment? How is this a black eye on the sport? It's like, yeah, I didn't watch it at 4 a.m. either, but I still know it happened. Like, you do realize it's all recorded, Toto. People will wake up a couple hours later and they'll immediately see it on Twitter and immediately be talking about it. It was still immediately a big topic people were going on about. You haven't got to watch it live or be there in person or see it, at 4 a.m. in Europe somewhere to like know it happened. Like, it's not some cover up. It's not like the 50s. You kind of just pay a few guys and they delete the footage. Maybe it's like. It was a bit of a weird take, and he got a bit aggressive. Like, you see managers do that sometimes in the Prem, and it just like reflects weirdly on you when you kind of have that kind of aggression about something. But to be fair though, if you are watching, it was at 4 a.m. right? If you're over here and you're staying up to watch FP1 at 4 a.m, There's this scene in Gavin and Stacey where Stacey's dossing about Gavin's house in Essex because they want her to move to Essex. And then Pam, Gavin's mum, walks in and she asks, like, "Oh, Stacey, what you been doing with your day?" And Stacey goes on about it, and she's just like, "Oh my, sorry, Stacey, I just gotta cut you off, mate. You want to get yourself a life, Stace. You want to, like, genuinely, if you're watching FP1 in the morning, you know, like, what are you doing? You're walking into work probably at like 7 with bags under your eyes. What did you do? Oh, I started to watch F1. Oh, was there a big race on? No, I just watched them basically, you know, like, what are you, I really don't, unless you're like an upcoming engineer or something and like you get some, like you're learning from it or something, like watching it for entertainment purposes is crazy because it's more or less just like a glorified, you know, crofty podcast type thing and Brundle where they kind of just try and have banter and like do practice their stand-up routines. So I don't get that, and maybe I'm being a bit of a hater right now, but you know, Verstappen was a hater all week, and when he does it, it's cute, but when I do it, it's bad. You know, why does Verstappen get? You know what I mean? So I'm probably just being a hater, really. It's just called liking a thing, I guess. It's not that. It's literally not that deep. It's just called liking a thing. Sorry. What else though? The Verstappen slander was big. The Verstappen slander was huge and non-stop. And this is more something I want to like circle back on at the end of a point I want to make. But all I'm going to say now is there was a lot of it non-stop, and he made his stance clear. This is shit. I don't want to be here. This is crap. But we have to be here, and we'll be here for 10 more years, and I hate it, and it's crap, and I like Vegas, but not racing there, and shit. So let's just remember that, right? Okay, we'll get back to that in a minute. Because, you know, yeah, we'll just get back to that in a minute. I just find it weird though. Like, I know it's not the driver's jobs really to advertise it, but at the same time, like, surely they wanna at least be open to stuff and advertise it. Or he's just taking a big old shit on it, saying like people trying to get excited for it. No, don't. It is shit. Like, it's like, you know, and everyone's like, it's just Verstappen being grumpy, you know, like the big baby guy in Cloud of a Chance to Meatballs when he knocks over the sardines, and it's like, and it's like, no, but you're making a mess. But it's like, oh, he's a cute baby, and it's like, oh, that's so cute. Oh, it's Verstappen. Oh, Verstappen's taking a shit over. Oh, Verstappen's being miserable. It's so cute, and it's like, yeah, but why are you so, you know, I don't, but you know, that's just Verstappen. Early start for Europeans. Yeah. Race rundown. So, you know, I probably won't even have much to speak about on the actual race. I actually found it quite meh. And it's like, I don't know why overtakes were happening, but I just feel like it's because so many people I usually rate or back were just out of it. It was like Piastri, he was making some overtakes, but he had to do another stop, and he was never really in the fight. He ended up finishing P10. Norris just got himself clotted into the wall pretty early on. Hamilton started far behind, and it seemed like it took like an age for him to finally get his race going because of multiple like mini setbacks. Everyone was bumping into each other. Multiple people just spinning around for no reason. Kylie Minogue style. She set a curse on them. And it felt like it just took a while for everyone to kind of get back into the fight. So it took a while for the race to get going. Obviously, Leclerc gets done by Verstappen, and my heart crack. Immediately sank as soon as I saw that. I mean, before actually the race, Lando, I got to rewatch that actually at some point. But Lando, he's talking in his quali, and he's talking about like Perez blocks him or something, and they're asking him if Perez is going to get a penalty, and like it's kind of like. Sometimes he's like, oh, I hate the way I sound in radios. I come across so bad sometimes, and this and that. And now it's just like, you know what? Forget that. You know, I'm a little prince, and I don't care who knows it. I will shout it from the rooftops type thing. The vibe was like supervillain mixed with underground mob boss, but like underground mob boss who like is 14 in a film, and you don't really suspect it's them, and it makes it kind of more scary because it's like, what secret power do they have if they don't physically look like they can do? They don't physically look like they can do harm. So what can they, how much power did they really have? That how, because this guy's clearly in charge here. How, because it was like they asked him, will will Perez be getting a penalty? And he's a couple rungs down from scoffing. He goes, he will, and if he doesn't, literally what he did, the most Disney Mickey Mouse like evil corporation. My father will be hearing about this kind of Draco Malfoy. Just scoff at it, like if he doesn't get a penalty. Like it, it just made me laugh. I saw it doing the rounds on Twitter quite a lot because he was just like, it's so sure. These instinctual moments he just had, not instinctual, but like these natural moments that just come out. It was like it was like he'll be getting a penalty, or it's probably off with some heads for sure. Perez. It's not a matter of if, but when he gets one. No, just like that was the richest little laugh I've ever heard in my life. But hey, it's what you come here. It's what you ask for. It's what you get with Lando, and I love that. But I don't know if Perez actually did get a penalty for whatever he did. He started like outside the top 10 anyway, so who really gives a fuck? But yeah, Verstappen again, P2 inside that first corner. Leclerc let me down, but he also made me proud. Like I was kind of let down in the sense that I expect him to win. I want him to win. And it's the 12th time I've showed up to his like little his little gig. I'm like his dad, I want him to do well, and I realize I'm getting toxic. I'm the problem. I'm the arsehole. Hey, it's me. However the Taylor Swift song goes. But I was kind of turning into a bit of a Jost Verstappen. If you're not first, you're last type thing. Second is the first loser. And like, it was almost like I saw Verstappen go past Leclerc and I almost left. Like I'm at my kid's sort of like football team thing or like sporting event or whatever. And the second I saw like I was not winning, I almost left, this is the first time I ever almost finished watching a race. Just out of sheer like disappointment and rage, I think, out of like the whole thing so far. With like probably 10 laps to go, I almost, left. I think when he went wide and Perez went ahead of him, I almost just slammed the laptop shut, which is a new laptop, which would have just been like a financial pain to me, but just purely out of just like, I'm done here, at my own boy, at my own son, But then, I stuck around and I'm happy I did. I saw him overtake Perez on that final lap, Alonso style. And I gained some perspective. I kind of learned that, look, he gets dealt a bad hand. And that's a great pun because we're in Vegas, right? And he's got a bad hand. But he makes the most of it. And he proves that he is not mid. Because mid is Sergio Perez. And he sets, the cat amongst the pigeons or whatever, right? In that moment, it was just proof that, okay, it's like he has this thing. It's like the way how Lando hasn't won a race. But he's not bad. Like, we clearly can see that he's good, though. It's like Leclerc hasn't won from pole in like 12. But we have context. Like, I've seen most of these. Like, I watched them. So I know what happened. So, I know he's not winning. I'm not going to listen to that, sort of narrative starting. And then it was kind of just like proved for me in that final moment. Like, he made me proud when he gets Perez back and proved what mid is. Because Perez is mid. And just to be clear, I feel like some people hear mid and they just like associated directly with mid, medium, mediocre. That's what you're saying. Whereas to me, mid is just like you're a lower level than people think you are. It's more just like being overrated, kind of, or not even overrated, but just overvalued or looked at in a certain way. Because it's not even that I necessarily think people rate Perez that highly in terms of fans and stuff, but more just for where you are right now and where you're looked at in your career, and you're in a Red Bull seat and this and that, and you have these people backing you. You're mid. Like, again, last lap you've been overtaken. For me, that's like a big thing because you got to have I feel like as a driver, you got to have a certain level of fight in your going into your final lap, and to get done how you did like again on the final lap in that same corner by Leclerc in the same way, and the way the commentators phrase it is like he got caught napping. That might not necessarily be true, but like with the way they've painted it for me, it's like twice though, and last lap 2 weeks in a race though, 2 weeks in a row, sorry, and it's like. I just, they were trying to play this whole, oh, Perez might just be trying to keep Leclerc in his DRS here, big brain move. And it's like, look, I think Perez is a good driver, but I think, I don't even necessarily think he shouldn't have that Red Bull seat. I think I've not wanted him to have it multiple times this season, mainly just because I have favourites and I'm biased and this and that. But ultimately, it felt like the vultures were circling, and any little crash, people were already going to throw up the question of, does he deserve this Red Bull seat? Because that just seems to be a thing people do with that seat in particular. Like, you have to be basically as quick as Verstappen or you don't get it, kind of thing. It's like, he's P2. We've got the context for he actually hasn't had a good season though, and realistically, he should be P3 to Hamilton, in my opinion, really, in terms of how his seasons went. But I'm not going to get into that. I just think, ultimately, though, I know he's in a rocket ship, and Verstappen's in one, and Verstappen finishes 20 seconds ahead, and he doesn't. But at the same time, I think he's done enough to keep it, really. I don't think there should be really huge question marks there. Because, like, who are the competition? Unless it's like Alonso stepping in, they're thinking about Ricciardo and stuff like that. So I don't think it's that deep. That just seems like change for the sake of change, again, type thing. But it's like, he's good driver, but he's not this. To me, like, he is nowhere near, for me, he's nowhere near the level of Lando Norris, even. Like, Lando Norris, Leclerc, arguably even Russell, because I feel like Russell, at least, has something he doesn't have. I don't think Russell gets overtaken on the last lap. And does it make you a better driver if you just accept you're getting overtaken on that lap? Or, Russell maybe defends it so hard and maybe he outbreaks himself, maybe he crashes a bit. But I just prefer that in a driver. I guess it's what you rate and what you look for in a driver, right? And, like, for me, that this whole, oh, Perez is doing this big brain thing, why assume that? When multiple times we've seen, that's not really something he has in his look. I'm not calling the guy an idiot, obviously, but I just mean in, like, a racing sense. Remember, like, what country is it? I don't remember races, but, like, he couldn't get through his head that Verstappen's, you're trying to overtake Verstappen, or Verstappen's trying to overtake you or whatever, and it was, like, at the track where, also, I think it was Austria, right? And he couldn't get through his head. Just brake a little bit earlier so Verstappen goes ahead first in, like, the DRS thing. So you're behind, so you get the DRS, so you get him on the straight. And every time, even though Verstappen kind of understood this immediately, every time he would just go straight through thinking, haha, I've got the place, I'm a good driver, and then immediately go overtake and not getting that through his head, no one feeding him that information, whereas that's something Verstappen just latches onto immediately. And it's not like just a Verstappen thing. You see Sainz obviously dragging along Norris. That's a little big brain moment. You've seen him have good moments, Sainz, with, like, the weather and predicting things in that sense. Leclerc at, like, that track where it's like another street circuit where you come around the final corner and you kind of don't want to you kind of want to slow down around the final corner, get overtaken, and then overtake them on the big straight back, if anyone remembers that track. And it's like, I just don't see Perez ever doing stuff like that or thinking about things outside of overtaking at the quickest possible scenario. Like, when he spins Magnussen around, or whoever it is, at one, I don't know tracks by their names, I'm sorry, I'm sure of this, but, like, at a track earlier this season, or, like, he dives in early on this, like, horseshoe kind of corner thing, and then he almost takes someone out, and he does it again. It's like, you're behind this guy, you're clearly quicker than. There's going to be a big straight, like, 2 corners from now. But you're like, oh, I want to try and do it now, so I'm going to do it now. And then you, like, spin him around and spin yourself around. And it's just like, yeah, sometimes he has the bit between his teeth and he gets his elbows out and he gets super aggressive. But outside of just being naturally quick when he wants to be in a race and having good race pace and being able to get his elbows out sometimes, I just think he lacks so much in terms of defending and, like, in the car IQ and, like, dog in him. If there is a dog in there, I don't think it's anything bigger than, like, a Pomeranian. That's what I'm trying to say. But that's my Perez thing. That's my Perez rant. But yeah, I mean, for what I needed like a couple drivers to go out. I needed some more crashes. Like, when you look at the end of it, only like a couple cars retired, a few cars retired, but, like, 2 of them I think only retired on basically the last lap. So for most of the race, it was only Lando out. And for some reason, I was expecting a lot more cars out than that, especially after you see, like, people skidding off so early and it looking that easy. But I guess people got used to it and shit. But, like, I remember seeing Verstappen overtake everyone fairly easily. And then it got to George Russell. And you remember back in Mexico when it's Lando's just, la 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 la, like he's overtaking everyone, right? And the engineers get on the radio and say, and this actually proves to be a world class bit of management from whoever that was, right, at McLaren. Which you want to give all this credit to GP and stuff, and obviously yeah, he's good in that. But like, but did he say this though? Because this is something to learn from, right? McLaren boys jumped on and said, "Watch out for Russell. He's do or die." Right? No one said that to Max, and I had this little feeling inside me, and I may have made this joke earlier about someone else, but I had this sort of like, oh, he's about to overtake Russell. Everyone else has been fine. He's probably going to overtake Russell easily, but George Russell, can you do some for me, George? And it's like, lo and behold, Verstappen tries to overtake Russell, and every other car lets him go through, and George Russell turns in late. Damage, you know. And in the moment, I celebrated. Basically, I was like, yes, like for me, that was like George doing an amazing overtake, because it was like finally someone not just like bending over for Verstappen easily. And obviously he was wrong in the moment, but he turns in. I'm thinking Verstappen's got damage. Finally, we'll have a different winner. Something, just throw up something different in there. But realistically, Verstappen never really was harmed by it too much. He still won really by ease, basically. Not ease, but you know, easily enough. And really, all the damage got done to George in a way that was kind of just more sad. George then gets like a penalty, and he ends up finishing behind Hamilton. And this is the most virgin example I could probably think of. But it's kind of like Fortnite duos, you know. And it's like on me, yep, on me, yep. Push, like you're kind of yep, push him now, and it's like you're like down or something, you know, you need to be revived. And it's like yeah, he's weak, and it's like you had the moment there, and what I thought was a cool moment where you was about to like kill him and then revive me turned out to be you actually getting killed, and we're back in the lobby. Like what? That's a bit abstract. I'm trying to say that abstract. I know Fortnite, but like. It was this moment where I thought, oh, George, do this one thing that George does and take him out. And then basically he didn't try and take him out, but in my mind, he tried to take him out. And then basically just not only gave himself probably worse damage, but then got a 5-second penalty and then finished behind his teammate, and Verstappen won anyway. So I was just like, it was like in the movies when like, they have this, like a Marvel film when you punch someone in the face and they don't even react or something. You know, it was like that. It was like, oh, this is kind of sad. Like you just got shrugged off. So can you do some for me? No. Not really, actually. But he tried at least. It was close enough. Perez, yeah, I mentioned that. It was just a shame. Because then, you know, and here's what we'll end up before going to soft, medium, hard awards, but like, fucking GP, when Verstappen crosses the line, and I wanted it to be Leclerc so bad. And Leclerc was happy when he got over the line, because it was like, it's kind of like in football, when you draw a game, if you draw a game like 3-3, like, okay, here's an example. Chelsea drew with Arsenal 2-2. We were 2-0 up. We conceded 2 late goals. That game felt like a loss. We played Man City. It was 4-4. We scored a penalty in the last minute. That game felt like a win. They're both draws. You would get a point for both. But depending how you get it, makes it feel better or worse. So Leclerc got P2. The fact he managed to overtake on the last lap after a little mistake makes it feel better. Makes you feel like, yeah, I'm sick. Whereas if he was, you know, fighting for P1 and he got overtaken on the last lap by Verstappen and ended up P2, it would feel a lot worse, because it's like, either way it's P2, but in this scenario, he kind of won back P2 instead of like losing P1 for P2. So, you know, he was kind of happy, sad at the end. And, you know, it will just really put the nail in my coffin. It was just like 3 out of 3 wins here in the USA, Max. You could call that a royal flush. And it's like this pre-written fucking British dry delivered like, I just fucking hated it. And you know, Verstappen was gobbling it up. Oh yeah, it's brilliant. That's quite clever. That like he kind of like tipped his fedora off at the joke. He was like, oh yeah. And it's like, I'm gonna give the soft award to Verstappen, kind of for this. It's like people think about these awards have to be given out purely for on-track stuff, and it's like, you know, he did all right out there today. But, you know, he won. But, you know, I'm sorry. Verstappen kind of showed today. He's just this, you know, spoiled, sellout bitch, you know. And maybe those aren't the right descriptors for this, and they kind of just flowed to me just then. But, like, in the sense that you spent this whole week, chatting shit. This Vegas sucks. yeah, maybe I'll come here to splash some cash and throw my life away, and get fucked up. But to race, it's shit. You see him, they're dressed up in these like Elvis Presley race suits, and he looks like he wants anything else but this. He looks miserable. Every single interview thing press conference is an opportunity to dish out more slander. You don't want to be here, and all it took was a win that not even like a shocking win. Did you think you was going to finish P10 this whole weekend or something, and then you ended up winning? And then the second you win, I get it, you just won, yeah, but you hear Verstappen after most races. It's like, yeah, good guys. Like they'll tell him, Verstappen, well done, that's 60 wins in a row, great work. And he's like, yeah, that's great. Obviously a bit upset with my tires, but we keep it. Today it was like this like happy attitude. It was, Viva Las Vegas. You want to sing the songs. You want to die of laughter at GP's dry jokes. All of a sudden, all these Vegas Elvis related jokes are like going down a tree, and everyone's like winking at each other, end of the movie, like hey type thing, because you won. Where's your integrity? I want to hear you get on the radio and be like, yeah, we won, but it's shit. Then I would actually back it. If he got on the radio at the end after everything he'd said and be like, yeah, we won, but hopefully we haven't got to race ever again type thing, even though knowing he has to do another 9 more years of this or whatever, fine. But you win, and immediately all that goes out the window, and it's Viva Las Vegas. Pew, 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 pew. It's just like, what, man? Like, just out, not even out of a shocked win, but out of an expected win, realistically, anyway. I ain't really usually got problems with Verstappen, but to me, that was just some, that was some weak shit, Verstappen. Medium, I'm gonna give to Perez because you know what? To be fair, I guess he gained 8 positions and he got on the podium, so I have to give him something. But it's mid in the sense that again you're getting overtaken on the last lap, and it's like, this is what I mean. You're mid because you're good, but you're not great, and you're in a great position, but you're just only good, and you haven't got a dog in you, so you're mid, and Leclerc's better. And sorry, I'm not going to hear any slander about that. Hardaward, I could arguably give to Leclerc because it was a cat amongst the pigeons moment on that final lap. Just like, he will break late and he will go for it, and he'll send like people. He's a madman, but he makes it work, and I just want to see Leclerc get back on that top step. Final race. It's the final race. Please, just something different. Please, just something different next week in terms of that podium. But I'm actually going to give it to Stroll because Stroll finished P5. He gained 14 positions, by the way. I think he started P19 or something. He gained 14 positions, finished P5, and I only found out about it when writing down the order like 8 hours after the race. He gained 14. I don't know how he did it, but what I do know is no one gave a single fuck. Like, no one cared. And I turned off the stream relatively soon after the race finished, but like long enough after everyone had crossed the line for them to at least acknowledge it. And I was tired, sure. I don't remember anyone saying Stroll's name or speaking about Stroll once during the whole race, beginning, middle, or end. He gained 14, and whether it was through safety car, Perez's position was technically through safety cars a lot of it. I don't know how we got there. All I know is no one cared that he was there, which, maybe shows how people view Stroll in the sport. But I'm just giving it to Stroll because it's like, why are you there? On paper, that's impressive. Sure, you can get the hard award. But yeah, so God knows how that's happened. I mean, he had Alonso was 9th, and started 9th. I don't know when did he get there? I don't know when that happened. But yeah, the final race next week, I think, in like, where is it? It's not Saudi Arabia. Bahrain's the first track. It's like so that kind of area of the globe. We've had Qatar. I don't really remember. Is that kind of area of the globe, sort of Middle Eastern area, night race. Nothing really to play for. Like, we've tried to convince ourselves we've got these small battles to sort of enjoy when it comes to the races. Like, oh, Perez, Hamilton though? Okay, no, that's kind of dead. Alpine, McLaren, though, that's probably kind of dead. Like, there's nothing really to watch for. So at the very least, it has to just throw up an exciting kind of race because there's nothing to play for. It's basically like watching a friendly, an international friendly. So, like, if that's going to be the case, guys, you got nothing to lose. Just go out there and send it. Like, if you're on pole and Verstappen comes on the inside, kamikaze that. Okay, no, that's a bit far. But, you know, like, give me something. Do something for me. You know, so that's all I can hope for. This is hard zone. We have hard zone. We're going to the end. And I'll see you at the Grand Prix next week. Thank you. Danke schön.